Okay, we weren't going to film this, but I just have this horror story that I was going ahead and telling Allie about, and I was like, let's just go ahead. Let's just film another episode because this is so horrific and just like fits right into our Halloween theme. So let's do one more. This is mainly about isolated objects, but this is the scariest, worst isolated object ever. Like, it is so dangerously scary.
Wait till you hear this story. I was like, in my jaw dropped. I was like, what happened?
So out of the dear goodness of my heart, I ran a free workshop last Friday on capturing UX requirements in Notion and Airtable. Sign up for my newsletter if you want to be alerted about all these great free events that I do. But it's OOUX.com/newsletter. It was an open event. I did have Zoom registration on, so people did have to register, but I put it through Meetup, through OOUX Happy Hour. We had about almost 200 registrants, and it was a free event. So I was like, we are very susceptible to trolls because this is a free event. I thought that the registration, people had to put in a real email address to get the link for it. So I thought that that would help. But I talked to Luke. I was like, Luke, get all our security settings. Can you moderate? So when the trolls do come, we're going to have at least one. You can kick them out quickly. He was like, cool.
You're prepared.
Prepared. Yeah. So let me first show you the settings. Okay. And this is not like this is not going to fit into one of our categories perfectly, but I just have to show you this because it's so wild. Okay. We're going to jump into Zoom in a minute, which is really hilarious because we're filming in another app and screen sharing Zoom. But first, let me show you the settings. Okay. So Luke went into settings, went into meeting, went into security, and then you scroll for days. I'm actually going to do a find because literally it is like way down screen sharing. Are you finding?
It reminds me of LinkedIn settings. So
yeah.
I'm getting like trauma.
Yeah. I mean, it's just literally, it's just scrolling to get to screen sharing. And we had on who can share, host only. All right.
Yeah.
Thought we were good. We were the only ones that could share. So nobody could come and just screen share to my 60 live participants really horrible hardcore porn. Yep. We had actually 4 different people we had to click. We had to eject from the meeting, and we saw things that we won't be able to unsee. And that is pretty horrifying for me, not just for like having seen it, but also just feeling so horrible that happened on my watch in a safe space that I was trying to build. We tried to build a safe community, and people got exposed to some really, really graphic stuff. All right. Yeah. And then honestly, like it threw me off for it was a 3-hour workshop. I had so much cortisol going through my, like, I still delivered. It was a great workshop, but it was like, Sophia. Yeah, it was tough.
Okay. I will always say, I don't blame you. I blame Zoom and the product here for this terrible user experience. Oh my gosh. Okay. Share more here. What else? So
the first part is that like they shouldn't have been able to share, right? Like this just didn't work. Turns out later we found this. We found if you go into account management, account settings, meeting.
So you had meeting settings.
Security.
Looks the same. There's meeting and security, but this is your account, which is what was the other one?
Over here in settings.
Just settings. But these look the same. It's the same information architecture.
It's the same information architecture, and wait for it. Let me just show you like how much you have to scroll to even, but we thought we had it set. We wouldn't even thought to go here because like, oh, there's the setting. No. Found the setting. Cool. But, here we go. Screen sharing. This was on all participants. It's the same thing. Like, I don't know. Is this a bug? This is to me a classic case of the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing. This is a case, Allie, of people not being organized around the concepts. If they had teams for account and a team for meeting, But instead, I'm guessing it was like, there's the account management team and then there's the settings team. It's either feature-based or page-based, screen-based, component-based, even platform-based. There's probably the browser team versus the in-app team. And then you get the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing. And you get these two exact settings in two different places. And I don't know if they're like canceling each other out or this is the only one that works. And I don't know the difference between them. So now it works. We tested it. Now, like I have control of the screen sharing, but we didn't know that. All right. So that is my first gripe.
Yes. Gripe number one, settings being so confusing. This is so important. Like being able to understand when you're turning, like there should be at least some information there of like, oh, you also might want to turn this off over there. Like explain it, be clear, talk about why these things, like you do need to explain. You can't just, oh, I'm just so angry. Okay.
I mean,
keep going.
If there's a difference, it needs to be really clear how they're different. And it should also honestly, I think this is just a mistake. I think this is just Zoom. It's just the kludge factor at work of a company growing their teams, not having a clear model of Zoom is not that complicated. Like it's complicated, but the objects are probably in like the 20, maybe 30 different objects, probably 10 core objects. We've worked with clients with hundreds of objects. This is not that complicated, but what happened is there is a meeting object, there was an account object, and somehow the settings on there are in two different places. And we left ourselves open and it ended up being pretty freaking scary and not fun scary, not Halloween fun scary.
No,
like horrible horror. So let's go into Zoom now and see what the experience it was in Zoom. Now, another thing is, as you know, you can't change the settings while you're in a meeting. So this is a thing that's like been annoying ever since the birth of Zoom. There's maybe a technical issue with this, but there's no way to like disable screen sharing while I'm in this meeting. You have to kind of go out and go to the browser and scroll through 100 different settings. But even if I had left myself open and something horrible like that happened, somebody started screen sharing something really, really offensive, what I want is
do you want me to share? Oh, yeah. I was going to say, do you want me to share my screen? I'm going to get you to share your screen in just a second, just to show what actually has to happen. Okay, Allie, so go ahead and share your screen. Maybe share us something scary if you've got something scary. Oh my God. Okay. One of my favorites.
Awesome. Okay. So let's pretend like this was really, really offensive. Okay. So what you can do, to be fair, is there's 3 little dots here and you can stop participant sharing. So that does exist. We did not know that existed. Okay. So what my muscle memory wanted to do was to go into either one of the right or left hand corners and see a big X. So this is muscle memory. And we as UX designers can leverage muscle memory. We can leverage other patterns that people have learned to use in digital spaces. So when we want to close a window and we want to close a window quickly, there's nothing in especially when we're panicking, there's nothing in our mental model to go to this little like tab thing and click this thing and click down here. What we would do is we would go to one of the corners to just like exit out. Also, for the record, these tabs are new in Zoom, right? So it's still like kind of like they added it and now there's all these problems of people being like, I can't see the screen share. It's like, you got to change the tab at the top. So this is a new kind of paradigm of having these tabs and it's a weird use of tabs. I don't love it, but in the end, it's a new thing. And we didn't even remember that there was tabs there, right? So what Luke had to do is he had to look at the name, go under find the participants tab, scroll through. Now, also to be honest, when somebody is sharing, they do pop up to the top. But again, he's panicking and there's 60 people in the list and there is this little green icon here, all right? But he scrolls right past it. So he's scrolling up and down, trying to find, I think it was like let's just say William Johnson or something like that. He's like trying to find this person's name and to be able to hopefully kick them out here. And then what you have to do if you want to click them out is then you click the more and you can actually, I can't click you out. It changes now. So now we have a little bit of a shape-shifting menu because you're I guess I can't kick you out because you're a co-host. Which is weird. Okay. I don't know why. Maybe I could make somebody a co-host and then they kind of, because I'm asking them to, hey, make me a host so I can share something, but it's somebody that I don't know. So then I didn't even know this. So let's say I made somebody co-host because they asked to share and then they started sharing something offensive, right? Because I'm in a big meeting and I don't know everybody, but I'm still going to assume that people are not nefarious. Yes. And if somebody says, hey, I want to share something on my screen and I let them share, but often, because that's another weird thing about Zoom, to allow for sharing, you usually have to make them a co-host, which is a weird roundabout way.
Yeah.
So now I have to withdraw.
Like when you want them to be able to share, it never works right. But yeah, the one time you did not need people to be sharing.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. It's like how many times people have been like, how do I share? I can't share. I don't have permissions to share. And you're like, okay, I made you co-host. Now can you share? And then this one time that I definitely didn't want anybody sharing except for myself. They just managed to share. And I'm like, that's so weird because when you entered this meeting, you still had to ask for, I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So now that you're not co-host, now I can remove you.
And if you remove me, could I just join back in?
We did have a waiting room set up, but I think if we didn't have a waiting room, then yeah. And so then again, we're having to remember their name. So there probably needs to be remove and
block
or something like that. Yeah. But they could always just use that link and join with another name or something. So there's really not good tools here to prevent this within Zoom. And I think that these trolls, these folks that seriously, my heart does go out to them because these people are so bored and lonely and disconnected that this is how they choose to use their life energy to disrupt other people who are trying to build community and share their creativity. But I think that they know that, one, a lot of people aren't going to be protected because of there's Byzantine settings within Zoom. So most people are going to leave themselves open. And then also, even if, let's say they did leave themselves open, even if somebody left themselves open, but there was really good tools to immediately kick somebody out within seconds, just using your muscle memory, and it was super intuitive to be able to do that, then I think that they wouldn't troll as much because these guys, we got a good 30 to 40 seconds of hardcore porn in a professional setting. Definitely not safe for work because it took that long just to kind of figure out how to immediately get them out, to shut them down and get them out. And then we kept having more and more people that we had it happened 4 times. And then somebody, I think it was Jake Zukovsky or I forget, somebody else was like, hey, Sophia, go ahead and share your screen.
And then they can't.
So that they can't take over. So smart. But I didn't, in my panic,
I didn't. Workaround.
It's a workaround. I had to block them out of being able to share just by sharing my screen. I wasn't even ready to share yet, but I was like, okay, I'll just share my screen. Then people were still able to go off mute and they were able to, play sound. People went off mute and they played sound and played horrible, horrible sex noises. In a different setting, maybe those sex noises would have been fine, but horrible in this particular setting. The last thing that I want to go over here is, let's say somebody's actually in the chat and they're harassing in the chat and you want to kick them out in the chat. So Allie, go ahead and don't put anything offensive. Put something in the chat. That's so scary. Okay. So, and guess what else is scary is isolated objects. So let's say Allie was saying something that was really offensive here. And I was like, I have got to kick her out. What would you do, Allie, to kick this person out right here?
I'd go to the person. I would click on the person there. Okay. I hover over.
Okay.
I can add contact.
I can add. That's about it.
Does my name do anything different if you click my name? Is that even?
What did it just do? Did you even see what it just did?
Direct message. And
then it's so subtle here. If you're doing it up here, it's did it even work? So you're just clicking it.
That
is anything happen? And then direct messages, and it does show it in red here, but how many times have you like wanted to send something to the entire chat, but you ended up direct messaging somebody? So what you would end up having to do here is if there was somebody that was trolling, you can go in and delete it, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to continue to do stuff. And now people can put images too. So we could have very well had somebody putting really offensive images in the chat. Thank God we got the worst of it out, and we only had to start 15 minutes late. So here what you would end up having to do is you have to remember this person's name, and then go to the participant list and find them in the list. And let's say you have 150 people in this meeting. Like there's not even a search. You can't even search. So this is an isolated object. So the isolation being we've got a chat message. Bring me back the chat. We've got a chat message, and we've got a person who made that message. And we want to be able to connect that, right? Like ideally, even from here, can I direct message them from here? Rename. No.
There's a chat.
Oh, there is a chat. Oh, good. Okay. What does that do?
Yeah.
It just is this. Okay. So I can send a message, but which is good. I did have that. Meeting chat. Okay, cool. But I can't connect it the other way. So, and this is the way from a moderation standpoint that I would really want to be able to do. So I am still, because that doesn't exist, like, I hope I'm not giving a bunch of trolls some ideas, but that is like still pretty open. There's nothing I could do to prevent that, right? I can't. No. What I would end up having to do is during the meeting, I would have to be told, hey, there's somebody that's being nefarious in the chat. I had to get their name, and I would have to find them in the participant list, click more, and then click remove.
And all of this feels like workarounds. Like you're trying to whack a mole at these trolls instead of like where we started with the settings. Like, let's set up this meeting the way you expected it to. And I mean, how do you even do that at this point when the meeting's going on? Is there a way to universally say no one else can share? Or are you just constantly playing whack-a-mole and have to just...
Yeah, you can't change the settings. You can mute all, but I think that like you can't...
They can come off mute.
They can come off mute. Like, let's see if I can... They could easily, just come off mute. So mute all works for just a moment until somebody decides that they want to come off mute, unless like there might be a way to do it. I just don't know. And I've been using Zoom for years. So that just goes to show for Zoom, like I should just know how to do that if it exists. Let us know in the comments. Do you know how that exists? Or do you have any other tips for moderation and more workarounds here? But it doesn't look like I can. And then, all the settings, I can't change the settings during the meeting. Another thing about those settings is that like there could be account level defaults, but potentially meeting by meeting, I would want my settings to be different. So I actually first went into the meeting on zoom.us in the browser, expecting the settings to be on the meeting. So that, because like if it's, my cohort office hours, like I don't want to have to like give everybody co-host. I want it to be really easy for people to share because it's a safe space. We know everybody there. So like that reoccurring meeting, I want actually everything to be really open, but I have to kind of set them all globally, which that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't work for me really.
No. And you know what? I expect so much better from Zoom. They are one of the, other than Microsoft Teams, like I think the leader in video for workplaces, like video meetings. This isn't the first week of the pandemic where everyone is on, and that like I kind of expect there to be that. This is years later. And as someone who is in that leadership position of being one of the highest used, I don't know the stats on it, but like they need to be doing better. I hope they see this video. I hope they fix this, because that is... People use Zoom for school settings. People use Zoom. Children are using Zoom. Like, I don't love that trolls can just come in, and that should be their highest priority of a problem. And I'm sure they are focused on that and know that, but it's happening now. It's still happening.
Totally. I'm going to show you. Yes, you're so right that there are leaders in the industry. They should be doing better as an example, and also like they've had time, right?
They've had so much
they
time.
Definitely had enough money. Yes. So let me show you.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah.
Don't they have like a lot of money? I think that they do. So I'm going to show you actually, let's go in. So here's a little post in the forum that I made about the recording of the workshop, a little bit of some bonuses. Okay, so I went through this UX lesson of, again, those different settings, but in the kind of what I would want to do. So, right, like Zoom being able to leverage our muscle memory, but instead this is what Luke had to do, is like look at the name, find the person, the participant list, hover over their name to get the more CTA, and then find the remove. So the other problem, even with this, like this does exist, this stop participant sharing, but again, it's not preventing them from sharing again. So what he would have to do, even if he went this route, is he'd have to remember like Benjamin Harris or whatever the person's name was. He'd have to remember stop participant sharing, go and find them in the list to kick them out, because you can't kick them out from here. You can just stop the sharing. And I don't think it's preventing them from sharing again. So he's got to shut down the participant sharing, remember the name, right? Keep it in his head, because once he stops participant sharing, he's not going to have that name anymore, right? Oh, yeah. So he has to have the foresight to not just stop participant sharing, but grab the name in his mind and then go find that name in the list of 60 people. And now that person's not going to be at the top anymore. What did you say, Allie?
No, the isolation of this, this is just such a perfect example of like, the person was sharing their screen. You can't act and find that person again. Of course, you're going to want to stop sharing. Like such a good scenario.
Yeah. Ugh. So this is what I want. Okay. So first, like I said, I want to see that X in the corner, right? So that like maybe it's kind of ghosted or something, but as soon as I start moving into one of those quarters, it just like pops up so I can easily shut down that screen share. And then I want it to give me a really nice modal that could be just easily dismissed, but the modal would be remove this person from the meeting. All right. And this was my first attempt at this. This is just a little attempt at some UX writing. So you kind of have to iterate. So my first attempt was like, yes, remove that, which I'm guessing is most of the use cases is going to be like, if I'm shutting down someone's screen sharing, I probably want them out of the meeting too, right? Because usually I'll like politely ask, or I'll just take over the screen sharing or something. I've never actually had to do this before. So it's never come up that I've needed to shut down somebody's screen sharing until I've had trolls. So being able to say like, hey, like you just shut down this person's screen. You just force quit them on this screen sharing. Do you want to remove them? Or like, no, thanks. They're all good. Okay. Then I was like, okay, from a UX writing perspective, like I do have a little bit of some contradictory language. Like the yes is the red thing and the no is the green thing. So did a quick rewrite, allow so-and-so to stay in the meeting. Yes. Keep them in the meeting, or no, remove. I would love that. And then maybe like, even if I just don't interact with this at all, they just stay in the meeting, right? It just kind of like shows up, one of those little like, what do we call them these days? Like little toaster like guys. Yeah. Like the little modal that just like, hi, do you want this? And then it just easily goes away, right? If I don't act on it. But I think for most of the use cases, I'd be like, remove them. And then to be really nice, like even to have a third option, I don't know, this might be too much, but like, yes, let them stay in the meeting, but flag them. Because you could potentially, I've had people in meetings before where I don't know if they're a troll. There's subtle trolling out there too, where it's like the first time I had this happen, it was just people like meowing in the background. And I was like, does somebody just not unmute and they like have a cat or something? Of course. But it was just like meowing in the background. So I like didn't know for sure if I was getting trolled. And then like somebody, like they lasted so long. They were like in a breakout room with somebody. And it just turned out they were just like trying to pretend like they were an OOUXer, but they didn't know. Like they were just like weirdly, like subtly trolling. So that might be a scenario where I want to like flag somebody, because like if something else happens, I want to easily be able to see them and to kick them out. So a little red, yellow, green action there. Ta-da, Zoom, you are welcome. I hope you are listening, and I hope you take action on this. And as a host of many, many meetings and big meetings, and as a customer of yours, I need help. I need it to be better.
Absolutely. I hope they're listening.
All right. And let us know.
Sophia, that was the grossest. Like, I hate that. I'm now terrified of meetings and need to like check my settings at all times, because this can happen to you.
Set both of them.
Yes.
Both of your settings.
Are there more? Maybe there's more. Maybe there's 3. I need to go.
Those 2 seem to work. We did test it. So with those 2, we're good. People cannot. So they have to ask for screen sharing. But again, like, somebody can ask and still be a troll. I don't know everybody in my calls, so there just needs to be. But now I know, like, okay, like, I have a procedure, and my procedure is I start screen sharing, and then I find them, and I remember their name, and then I have to find them in their participant list. So pretty silly. Yeah.
Yes.
So let us know in the comments if you have a similar experience, if you've dealt with this before, if you have any other ideas for redesigns on how to make Zoom a little bit better when it comes to moderation and keeping safe digital spaces that don't have really not safe for work stuff in there.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We need better tools to fight the trolls. So
yes.
Once again, happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And
happy Halloween. Happy OUXing.
Happy Halloween. Happy OUXing. Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.